You're broadcasting a signal right now. Not consciously, not deliberately, but constantly. Every cell in your body is vibrating at a specific frequency, generating an electromagnetic field that extends beyond your skin, interacting with everything around you. And that frequency, that vibration, is determining what you attract, what you repel, and what shows up in your reality. When you're in low vibration, when you're stuck in fear, resentment, or despair, you're broadcasting a signal that pulls more of the same toward you. Not because the universe is punishing you, because frequency attracts matching frequency. That's law, and most people spend their entire lives trapped in low vibration, wondering why nothing ever changes, why the same patterns keep repeating, why effort doesn't translate into results. And the reason is simple. They're trying to change their circumstances without changing their frequency. And that doesn't work, because circumstances are effects. Frequency is cause. You've been taught that your emotional state is something that happens to you, that you're a victim of your mood. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm having a bad day. As if emotions descend from the sky and land on you without warning. But that's not how it works. Your emotional state is generated by your focus, your thoughts, your beliefs, and the meaning you assign to events. And all of that is within your control. Not easy control, but possible control. And the moment you realize that your vibration isn't something imposed on you, but something you're generating, everything shifts. Because if you're generating it, you can change it, not someday, right now, in this breath, in this moment. But here's the trap most people fall into. They try to raise their vibration by changing external circumstances. Once I get the job, I'll feel better. Once the relationship heals, I'll be happy. Once I have the money, I'll relax. And so they chase the external, believing it holds the key to the internal. But it's backwards. The internal state creates the external reality, not the other way around. And when you wait for the external to shift before you shift internally, you stay locked in a loop. Because the external is reflecting the internal. And if the internal doesn't change, the external can't. It's a mirror. And mirrors don't change until the thing being reflected changes first. Raising your vibration isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's not about toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing or putting on a fake smile while you're crumbling inside. That's suppression. And suppression lowers vibration even further because it creates internal friction. You're saying one thing while feeling another. And that dissonance, that split, drains energy and keeps you stuck. Real vibration shift is about honesty. About acknowledging where you are and consciously choosing to move toward a higher frequency, not by denying reality but by refusing to let reality dictate your state. You can acknowledge difficulty and still hold a high frequency. You can face pain and still choose peace. Not as avoidance, as mastery, as the reclaiming of power over your internal world. And here's what most people don't understand. Raising your vibration doesn't require hours of meditation or expensive retreats or perfect circumstances. It can happen instantly, in seconds, with simple shifts that work with your nervous system, your breath, your body, because your vibration isn't abstract. It's biological. It's the state of your nervous system, the rhythm of your heart, the depth of your breath, the tension in your muscles. And all of these can be influenced immediately, not through willpower, through technique, through understanding how your system works and using that understanding to shift your state in real time. But before you can raise your vibration, you need to recognize what's lowering it. Because if you're trying to elevate while unconsciously reinforcing the patterns that drag you down, you're rowing against the current. And rowing against the current is exhausting. It creates the illusion that raising your vibration is hard, that it requires superhuman effort. But it doesn't. It requires release. Because your natural state is high vibration. Joy, peace, clarity, these aren't destinations you have to reach. They're the baseline you return to when you stop carrying the weights that pull you under. And those weights, those anchors, they're not external. They're internal. Unprocessed emotions, toxic consumption, resentment, the need for validation, the victim narrative. These are the frequencies that keep you low. And until you address them, until you release them, no technique will hold. You'll raise your vibration temporarily and then crash back down. Because the anchors are still there, still pulling. So this isn't about learning tricks to feel good for 5 minutes. This is about understanding the mechanics of vibration and using that understanding to shift your state permanently. Not perfectly, not without fluctuation, but with the ability to return to high vibration faster, to hold it longer, and to recognize when you've dropped so you can course correct instead of spiraling. Because that's the real skill. Not avoiding low vibration, returning from it. And the faster you can return, the less power it has over your life. And the less power it has, the more your reality reflects the frequency you're consciously choosing instead of the frequency you're unconsciously defaulting to. Raising your vibration doesn't require a vision quest. It doesn't require a month in silence or a guru or perfect conditions. It can happen in the next 60 seconds if you know what levers to pull. And the reason most people don't experience this is because they've been taught that transformation is complex, that it requires long processes and deep inner work. And while deep work has its place, it's not required for an immediate shift. Because your nervous system responds to inputs. And when you change the input, the system shifts. Not gradually, instantly. And the shift in your nervous system is the shift in your vibration. So these aren't metaphors. These are mechanisms. And mechanisms, when engaged correctly, produce predictable results. The first lever is breath. Your breath is the only bridge between your conscious and unconscious systems. You breathe automatically, but you can also control it consciously. And that makes it a doorway. When you're in low vibration, your breath is shallow, fast, and high in the chest. That activates your sympathetic nervous system, locking you in fight or flight mode. But when you shift your breath, when you slow it down and drop it into your belly, you activate the parasympathetic system. You signal safety. And in safety, the body relaxes. Cortisol drops. Heart rate variability increases. And your electromagnetic field shifts from chaotic to coherent. And coherence is high vibration. The technique is absurdly simple. Breathe in through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Breathe out through your mouth for 6. The longer exhale is the key. It activates the vagus nerve, which signals the parasympathetic system. Do this for 2 minutes. Not 22, and you'll feel the shift. Not a dramatic transformation. A recalibration. And recalibration is enough. Because high vibration isn't about intensity. It's about steadiness. The second lever is gratitude. But not the kind you think. Not the mental list where you recite things you're grateful for while feeling nothing. That's performative. Real gratitude is somatic. It's felt in the body. It's when you think of something and warmth spreads through your chest. When your shoulders drop. When your face softens. That's heart-centered gratitude. And heart-centered gratitude generates one of the most powerful electromagnetic fields your body can produce. The heart's field is measurable. It extends several feet beyond your body. And when the heart is in coherence, when it's broadcasting gratitude, the entire system entrains to that frequency. Your brain synchronizes. Your organs synchronize. And your external field shifts. To access this instantly, close your eyes. Think of a moment when you felt truly loved, seen, or appreciated. Not a person who might disappoint you. A moment. A memory. And let yourself feel it. Not think about it, feel it, for 30 seconds. That's all it takes. And your frequency will rise. Not because you tricked yourself. Because gratitude is a high-frequency state. And states are contagious. Even to yourself. The third lever is movement. Energy that's stuck in the body lowers vibration. When you're collapsed, sitting, frozen, the energy pools. It stagnates. And stagnation is low frequency. But movement breaks the pattern. Not a workout. Not a run. Just movement. Stand up. Shake your hands. Roll your shoulders. Stretch your spine. Dance to one song. Jump 5 times. The body is an antenna. And when you move it, you shift the signal it's broadcasting. Animals do this instinctively. After a threat passes, they shake. They discharge the energy. They reset. Humans have forgotten this. We hold, we store, we carry tension for years. But the mechanism is still there. And when you give your body permission to move, it will release what it's been gripping. And as it releases, your vibration rises. Not because you thought your way into a better state. Because you moved your way into one. And movement is faster than thought. Always. The fourth lever is sound. Humming. Toning. Singing. These aren't performances. They're vibrational resets. When you create sound, especially low, resonant sound, it vibrates through your entire body. It massages your internal organs. It stimulates your vagus nerve, which directly affects your parasympathetic nervous system. And the vagus nerve, when activated, signals relaxation, safety, connection. You don't need to be musical. You don't need perfect pitch. You just need to make sound. Hum a low note for as long as your exhale lasts. Feel it vibrate in your chest, your throat, your skull. Do it 3 times. And notice how your system softens. How the mental chatter quiets. How the heaviness lifts. Sound is frequency made audible. And when you create sound intentionally, you're tuning your system like an instrument. And tuned instruments play clear notes. Untuned instruments create noise. And noise is low vibration. The fifth lever is cold. Cold exposure forces presence. You cannot spiral into overthinking when your body is in cold water. You're too busy being alive. Cold showers, ice on your face, stepping outside in winter without a jacket for 60 seconds. These shock the system. They activate the sympathetic briefly, then the parasympathetic kicks in hard. And in that reset, vibration shifts. This isn't about suffering. It's about interruption. Your brain can't maintain the same thought loop when the body is jolted into present moment awareness. And present moment awareness is where high vibration lives. Not in the past. Not in the future, here, now, and cold brings you here faster than almost anything. 1 minute, that's all it takes. And the shift isn't subtle. It's immediate, because the body responds to intensity. And intensity, when used strategically, breaks patterns that thinking cannot touch. These aren't the only levers, but they're immediate, accessible, and they work. Not because they're magic, because they engage your biology. And your biology, when given the right inputs, shifts your state. And your state is your vibration. So you don't need to wait. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You can raise your vibration right now. In the middle of difficulty. In the middle of chaos. Because the shift doesn't require the chaos to stop. It requires you to stop letting the chaos determine your frequency. You can use every technique in the world to raise your vibration, but if you're carrying anchors, you'll lift temporarily and then sink again. Because the anchors are always pulling. And most people don't even know they're carrying them. They've been there so long they feel normal. Like part of who you are. But they're not. They're patterns. Habits. Unprocessed baggage. And they're lowering your vibration every single day. So before you focus on rising, you need to identify what's keeping you down. Because elevation without release is temporary. But release without elevation is automatic. Your natural state is high. The anchors are what prevent you from experiencing it. The first anchor is unprocessed emotion. Emotions are energy in motion. That's what the word means. Emotion. Energy that wants to move. But most people were taught to suppress emotion. Don't cry. Don't be angry. Stay strong. And every suppressed emotion becomes a pocket of stagnant energy in your system. It doesn't disappear. It lodges. In your tissues. In your fascia. In your energy field. And that density, that stagnation, lowers your vibration. You can't genuinely hold high frequency while carrying years of unexpressed grief, unspoken anger, or unacknowledged fear. The emotions themselves aren't the problem. Suppression is. And the moment you allow the emotion to move, to be felt fully without judgment or story, it releases. And in the release, your vibration naturally rises. Not because you added something, because you removed what was blocking the natural flow. The second anchor is toxic consumption. And consumption isn't just food, though that matters. It's everything you take in. The news that amplifies fear. The social media that breeds comparison. The conversations that drain you. The music that reinforces despair. The thoughts you entertain that spiral into negativity. Every input carries a frequency. And when you consume low-frequency content, you absorb it. You become it. It's not about censoring reality. It's about being conscious of what you're feeding your system. Because if you're trying to raise your vibration while consuming media designed to keep you afraid, angry, and divided, you're pouring water into a bucket with holes. The water never accumulates. And you wonder why you're always empty. The third anchor is resentment. Holding grudges. Replaying past betrayals. Rehearsing arguments that never happened. Resentment is drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. But the other person is often unaware, unbothered, while you're carrying the weight. And resentment vibrates low. It's acidic. It corrodes. It blocks the heart. And when the heart is blocked, high vibration is impossible. Not because you're morally flawed. Because the energy can't flow. Forgiveness isn't about condoning behavior. It's about releasing the anchor. It's about cutting the energetic cord that keeps you tied to a moment that's already over. And the moment you release it, even if the other person never knows, your vibration lifts. Not because they changed, because you freed yourself. The fourth anchor is the need for external validation. When your sense of worth depends on what others think, you hand them your frequency dial. And most people are unconscious of their own vibration, let alone capable of regulating yours. So you become unstable, high when praised, low when criticized, elevated when included, crushed when ignored. And this dependence creates a roller coaster. You can't sustain high vibration if it's contingent on external approval. Because external approval is unreliable. It shifts with mood, circumstance, insecurity. True high vibration is self-sourced. It comes from internal alignment, not external affirmation. And the moment you stop seeking validation outside yourself, the moment you recognize that your worth is inherent, your frequency stabilizes. And from stability, elevation becomes effortless. The fifth anchor is the victim narrative. The story that life is happening to you, that you're powerless, that circumstances control you. This narrative, while sometimes comforting, is a vibration killer. Because victimhood is low frequency by definition. It's the surrender of agency. And agency is power. And power is high vibration. This doesn't mean denying that harm occurred. It means recognizing that no matter what occurred, you still have the power to choose your response. To choose your meaning. To choose your next move. And that choice, that reclaiming of power, is the shift from victim to creator. And creator energy is some of the highest vibration accessible. Because creators don't wait for reality to change. They change reality by changing themselves first. The anchors aren't enemies. They're old survival mechanisms. They served a purpose once. But if you're still carrying them now, they're no longer protection. They're prison. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to release every anchor perfectly before you can rise. You just have to recognize them, name them, and then consciously choose in this moment to set one down. Even temporarily. Even for 5 minutes. Because 5 minutes of freedom is 5 minutes of elevated frequency. And 5 minutes repeated becomes a habit. And a habit becomes your new baseline. And your baseline becomes your reality. Raising your vibration for 5 minutes is easy. Holding it when life pushes back is mastery. Because life will push. Challenges will come. People will disappoint. Plans will collapse. And in those moments, the instinct is to drop. To collapse back into the familiar low frequency. But sustainability isn't about never dropping. It's about how fast you return. And that speed increases with practice, with awareness, and with the decision that your vibration is non-negotiable. That no matter what happens externally, you protect your internal state. Not as rigidity, as devotion. Because your frequency is the foundation of everything you create. And if the foundation crumbles every time the wind blows, nothing you build will last. The first key to sustaining high vibration is understanding that external circumstances don't lower your frequency. Your response to them does. This distinction is everything. The event itself is neutral. It's your interpretation, your reaction, your meaning-making that generates the drop. And if you can catch yourself in the gap between event and response, you create choice. You can acknowledge the difficulty without collapsing into it. You can feel the pain without becoming the pain. And that separation, that space, is where mastery lives. Not in avoiding difficulty, in meeting it from a centered place. The second key is returning without judgment. You will drop. You will forget. You will get pulled into low vibration. And when that happens, the mind often spirals further by judging the drop. I was doing so well. I've ruined it. I'm back at square one. But that judgment is just another drop. The drop after the drop. And it's often worse than the original. So the practice isn't perfection. It's return. Like meditation. The mind wanders. You notice. You return. No drama. No shame. Just return. And the faster you can return, the less time you spend low. And the less time you spend low, the less it impacts your reality. Because reality responds to sustained frequency, not momentary dips. The third key is environment. You cannot sustain high vibration in environments that constantly pull you down. If your space is cluttered, chaotic, your frequency will mirror that. If your relationships are toxic, draining, your frequency will absorb that. If your routines are scattered, reactive, your frequency will reflect that. So part of sustaining elevation is creating containers that support it. Not perfectly. Intentionally. Clear some clutter. Not everything. Just enough that your space feels breathable. Limit exposure to people who drain you. Not by cutting everyone off. By being selective about your energy. Structure your day with reset points. 5-minute pockets where you breathe, recalibrate, return to center. These aren't luxuries. They're maintenance. And maintenance prevents collapse. The fourth key is meaning. The stories you tell about what's happening shape your frequency more than the events themselves. 2 people lose a job. One says, "I'm a failure. Life is against me." The other says, "That job was too small. Something better is clearing space to arrive." Same event. Different meaning. Different frequency. And the frequency determines what comes next. The one holding failure attracts evidence of failure. The one holding possibility attracts opportunity. This isn't delusion. It's strategic meaning-making. You get to choose the story. And the story you choose becomes the lens through which reality is filtered. So when difficulty comes, ask, what meaning can I assign that empowers instead of diminishes? Not a lie. Not a bypass. A meaning that serves your elevation instead of your collapse. The fifth key is remembering why. High vibration isn't about feeling good for its own sake. It's about alignment. About living from your truth. About creating a life that reflects your deepest values. And when you remember that, when you connect to the why beneath the practice stops feeling like work. It becomes devotion. Not to a deity. To yourself. To your potential. To the life you're here to create. And devotion sustains what discipline cannot. Because discipline is finite. It runs out. But devotion is love. And love doesn't deplete. It replenishes. And when you love yourself enough to protect your frequency, to guard your state, to return to center again and again, sustaining high vibration becomes not a burden but a gift you give yourself. Daily. Moment by moment. Breath by breath. There's a point where raising your vibration stops being something you do and starts being something you are. The techniques integrate. The practices become automatic. And you're no longer working to hold high frequency. You've become high frequency. And from that state, difficulty doesn't lower you. It refines you. Challenges don't break you. They reveal what's still unintegrated. And instead of collapsing, you meet everything from a place of rootedness. Not because you're perfect, because you've done the work. And the work has restructured you from the inside out. Becoming the frequency starts with identity. Not who you've been, who you're choosing to be now. Because identity isn't fixed. It's fluid. And most people live from an outdated identity formed in response to old pain, old limitations, old environments. But you're not that person anymore. And the moment you consciously choose a new identity, one aligned with high vibration, everything shifts. You stop asking, "How do I raise my vibration?" and start asking, "What would someone who naturally holds high frequency do here?" And then you do that. And in doing it repeatedly, you become it. Because identity isn't who you are. It's who you practice being. Becoming the frequency requires integration. You can't compartmentalize. You can't have a spiritual practice in the morning and then spend the rest of the day in low-frequency patterns. High vibration isn't something you visit. It's something you live. Every interaction, every decision, every word, you ask, "Is this aligned with the frequency I'm choosing?" And when the answer is no, you adjust. Not rigidly, not perfectly, consciously. And over time, the adjustments become automatic. You stop choosing high vibration. You are high vibration. And from that state, low-frequency behaviors naturally fall away. Not through discipline, through misalignment. They don't fit anymore. Becoming the frequency also means you give from overflow. When you're high, you have surplus. And surplus is meant to circulate. Not hoarded, shared. This doesn't mean you become a doormat. It means you give from fullness, not depletion. A smile, a kind word, holding space without fixing. These aren't grand gestures, but they're high-frequency acts. And when you give from high vibration, you don't lose it. You amplify it. Because energy multiplies when circulated, and stagnates when held. So you become a conduit. Not the source, the conduit. And the more high-frequency energy flows through you, the more it becomes you. Becoming the frequency means you stop defending it. You no longer need to explain or justify your state. You simply hold it. And those who resonate feel it. Those who don't either shift or move away. And both are perfect. Your job isn't conversion. Your job is embodiment. And embodiment speaks louder than words. People don't remember what you said. They remember how they felt in your presence. And when you're high, they feel safe, seen, possible, not because you tried, because you are. And finally, becoming the frequency means you trust the difficult times. You recognize challenges aren't interruptions. They're invitations to deepen, to test, to prove that your vibration isn't circumstantial. It's foundational. And when you meet difficulty from high frequency, when you refuse to collapse, you don't just survive, you integrate, you transmute, and you emerge not intact, expanded, because high vibration doesn't avoid darkness. It brings light into it. And in bringing light, it transforms what would have destroyed you into what now strengthens you. You have everything you need right now: the breath, the gratitude, the movement, the sound, the cold, the choice. These aren't complicated. They're immediate. And they work, not later, now. Difficult times aren't the enemy of high vibration. They're the forge. The place where you discover that your frequency isn't dependent on ease. It's rooted in essence. And essence can't be touched by circumstance. It can only be forgotten. And now you remember, so breathe, move, feel, choose, and become not someone who raises their vibration, but someone who is vibration, high, sustained, unshakable, not because life got easier, but because you finally understood that frequency is a choice. And you chose. And the choice, repeated, becomes you.